My name is Tanya Smith, and I will be discussing cognitive developmental delay. Cognitive developmental delay. Let's start with the definition of cognitive development. It is the construction of thought processes, including remembering, problem solving, and decision making. This process starts at a very early age when the brain is developing. Cognitive is the ability to think, learn, and solve problems. Jean Piaget was a clinical psychologist known for his work in child development. According to Piaget, there are 4 stages of cognitive development. The first stage is sensory motor. This stage occurs 0 to 2 years old. The sensory motor includes sight, touch, taste, smell, and hearing. You've probably seen a baby before sticking toys in their mouth or looking around the room trying to see or staring off into space. These are all part of the learning process for an infant to 2-year-old. This is the stage that we'll be most focusing on because this is the most critical stage when it comes to cognitive development. The second stage is pre-operational, which occurs 2 to 7 years old. The third stage is concrete operational, which occurs from 7 to 11 years old. And the fourth stage is formal operational, which occurs 11 years old to adult. As I mentioned before, we're going to focus more on the sensory motor. Different neural circuits develop at different ages, and it is in the earlier stages that cognitive delay can be detected. These earlier stages are called sensitive periods. When the brain is developing, it is the sensory motor stage that is the most critical. Researchers have established that characteristics of developing brain architecture, or how the brain is wired, in young children are heavily shaped through interactions with the environment and personal experiences. There are certain developmental stages that have specific effects on how the brain develops. According to the National Scientific Council on the Developing Child research, shows that when the environment for the developing brain is impoverished, the effects are long-lasting. Without positive and appropriately stimulating approach, cognitive neural pathways may not develop fully or in the same ways. This causes a developmental delay. According to WebMD, a variety of problems may cause language and speech delays, which include exposure to more than one language, which can cause mild delays in toddlers but not delays by the time they reach school age. A learning disability, a child abuse or neglect, a problem with the muscles controlling speech, a disorder called dysarthria, hearing loss, which may occur in children who have severe middle ear infections or occur as a result of certain medications, trauma, or genetic disorders. Autism spectrum disorders, a group of neurological disorders that may involve impaired communication as well as impaired social interaction and cognitive skills. Or sometimes no cause can be found for these delays. These interruptions in the brain's development cause a deficit. Cognitive deficit is an inclusive term used to describe impairment in an individual's mental processes that lead to the acquisition of information and knowledge and drive how an individual understands and acts in the world. The following areas constitute domains of cognitive functioning: attention, decision-making, general fund of knowledge, judgment, language, memory, perception, planning, reasoning, and visuospatial, which the definition is ability to process and interpret visual information about where objects are in space. Children with these deficits are diagnosed with an intellectual disability. Children with this disorder may have delayed developmental milestones, while milder levels may not become identified until school age. Intellectual disability is non-progressive and generally lifelong. However, concurrence with specific genetic disorders may manifest with periods of cognitive deterioration. A child's cognitive development is an indicator as to whether he or she is ready for school. Vocabulary is a major indicator. Students that have a developmental delay are not just a little behind, they are significantly lagging in skills. Developmental delays are different than developmental disabilities. Disabilities can be a result of conditions such as Down syndrome, autism, fetal alcohol syndrome, and brain injuries, whereas developmental delays may be caused by short-lived issues such as speech loss caused by an ear infection. Deficits in intellectual functioning may be confirmed by clinical assessment and standardized intelligent testing. Individuals with IQ scores of less than 70 fall in a very low range of functioning in the bottom 2% of same-aged individuals. Professionals, such as psychologists, involved in assessment of intellectual functioning should also consider linguistic diversity and cultural differences when determining the validity of IQ scores. In babies, the cognitive development occurs through the eyes, ears, and hands. In toddlers, it occurs learning to count, naming, and learning new words. There is no one specific cause of developmental delays. It can be an early indicator of a learning or attention issue. Early detection is important to help the child develop skills. Once a child is diagnosed with a developmental delay, they will have an IEP. This is an individualized education program. Although the student will be in the classroom, the IEP provides extra support depending on the child's needs. Accommodations or modifications will be provided to the student as needed. In closing, it is important to remember that each child is an individual and every child deserves the best possible chance for success. I leave you with this quote: "Every child is a different flower, and all together make this world a beautiful garden."